So I think what you're starting to see is I think companies are wanting to be more local, like regionalized, where they can get people in if they need to have a all hands. I do think the toothpaste is out of the tube. And if you have tried to put toothpaste back in the tube, it's next to near impossible and incredibly messy. And I think that's where we're at.
I'm proud that Nashville's working together as a community to try to ensure that we're cultivating talent locally and that we're supporting that talent nationally.
We've seen how Nashville's grown into the thriving tech hub that it is today. Now, we're looking at what kind of tech jobs are available in Music City and how companies are getting creative in hiring tech talent. Hi there, I'm Clark Buckner, and so excited for this conversation today on this episode of 10 Years, 2,000 Journeys. We're talking with Beth Hoeg from Trinisys and Taylor Desseyn from Vaco to discuss how they've seen the hiring landscape change over the past 10 years. We'll also dive into some creative ways they're sourcing talent for their companies and clients while remaining competitive in Nashville's growing tech community.
Hello, my name is Beth Hoeg. I'm the President and Chief Operating Officer for Trinisys. I've been in the tech sector for more than 20 years, and I'll leave it at that.
Hello. My name is Taylor Desseyn. I work for Vaco, and I've been in the Nashville market for 10 plus years, and my focus is recruiting engineers.
I love it. Taylor, Beth, welcome. Thank you for spending some time, all of us together here in the studio. We're going to be talking all about the tech hiring landscape, how it's been changing over the years, where it's at today, where it's going. And I feel like both of you are just some of the best people we could have on this topic. Welcome.
Thank you.
Beth, how about we start, and I'm going to get out of the way here, but I'm going to get you all going here. But Beth, I would love to start with you, though. You said 20 plus years in tech, and how have you seen the tech hiring landscape change in Nashville over the years? In your own words, where was it? Where is it today? What are a couple thoughts you have?
Yeah, so in the early years, it was really interesting because we were hiring the same tech talent from every company. So
like a battle of talent.
It was absolutely a battle. Like if you knew someone good, everybody knew them, and then everybody was recruiting away from each other. There wasn't a huge pool of talent, and there was a lot of opportunity to get the best talent if you could differentiate yourself from what was ever important to that person. So in the early years when I worked for insurance companies, it was challenging getting top tech talent to work for insurance companies because that's not as interesting as maybe working for a software company. So we had to use different strategies there. And then when we started Trinisys in the early years, it was quite challenging because we were a startup. So getting the best talent and, convincing team members to come join us was hard, but also we had a different culture. So we had, that fun startup culture that really attracts different people than an established company would. So we were able to get some really good talent in the early years. And as we've grown, we've just had to really adjust what that looks like. So before COVID, we were in the office, and culture and the way we interacted and all of that was really important. And it was really a defining piece of our recruitment. And as we went to all remote work, it completely changed the way in which we interact with our team, what we're looking for in terms of hiring, where we're looking to hire, and how we're getting the best talent, which was not necessarily just Nashville. Once we said, okay, we can do this remotely, I think you all know, like throughout COVID, the opportunity for the team to come back to the office was not really on the table if you wanted to keep the best talent and have that flexibility. So it really opened up the market for us across the nation, but it also changed the way we had to look at how do we engage our team? How do we keep them part of that Trinisys family? How do we make sure that we're providing them that same level of engagement, opportunities, ability to have FaceTime with management, maybe that they don't work with on a day-to-day basis. So it's been really interesting to watch it change throughout the years.
Yeah, I want to brag on you, Beth, and Trinisys. It started off as a startup, and it's become an award-winning company, NTC Awards. I've seen you throughout the years, all around the community, but you all have been recognized as one of the best companies here in town. So congratulations. What you're doing with tech talent, attracting, retaining, it's working. So we're going to talk more about that soon. So now,
Thank you.
Of course, shifting over to Taylor. What are your thoughts on this? You've been here 10 plus years. Vaco, a huge company, doing great work in town. What have been some of the things you've seen change over the years?
I mean, it's just like what Beth said. I mean, I don't want to be like, yeah, same, and just shut my mouth. But honestly, same. I think, pre-COVID, I think all cities across the country were it's just segmented. You are very, very focused in your local market, and you can kind of get some tunnel vision. I think tunnel vision happened with salaries, especially across the South. I know there's FANG salaries out there, but I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about what I call kind of like the one below FANG salaries. And, cities could kind of dictate what they would pay because we were segmented, right? Everyone needed to be going to the office. And so that completely got its, roof blown off on that perspective. But yeah, I think now it's definitely a remote first global workforce, which is good and bad. I talked about this recently on one of my interviews, and I'm so glad I don't have to moderate here.
Well, you do an interview every single day.
Yeah. So, and I was having this conversation with somebody, especially about junior developers, and again, I know we're talking about Nashville Software School here and the 10 years with them, which is incredible. And I'm a huge fanboy as well for NSS, and actually I'm speaking to them next week in their data cohort. But it's opened up the pool, but I think it's allowed junior engineers to probably get more of a look now than they ever have, because I think companies they understand now that trying to find a senior developer is even more difficult than it ever was. Because, originally you can just you can go down the street, since we're all in the same city, and be like, knock on the door, be like, I want you, I'll pay you a little bit more. We have a better culture. We have a better, brand locally. Well, now that's harder now. So what I would say is it's actually helped specifically junior developers, in my perspective, kind of open up the funnel a little bit and find new opportunities.
Both of you, great points, but remote, of course, is like a huge focus I'm hearing. Mm-hmm. That has changed everything. So as you start to think about trends like remote working and other things that you're seeing, what do you think the next couple of years are going to look like? Are we staying, is this here to stay? What, if you had to make some predictions of where we're going as it relates to
some hot takes,
the tech hiring landscape, what are your hot takes?
Well, so we built out beautiful brand new space that we were moving into 2020, March of 2020. So
perfect timing.
It was perfect timing. Yeah. And, as a startup, we had space that was great and fun, but it wasn't like beautiful showplace space. And we were so excited because we built it with our team in collaboration in mind, and had a lot of like walls that would open and we could get together and collaborate.
Sounds wonderful.
It was beautiful. So the team has never moved in. We have spent the last several years looking at, like, do they want to come back, doing surveys? And then we realized that they didn't want to come back in force, so we sublet a third of it. Because it's a valuable asset. We don't want it just sitting there, and it's brand new. So we sublet a third, and then we did some more surveys, and we sublet another third, and now we just kept the collaborative middle space for our Nashville team, so we can get together. We're having a party there this afternoon, a Halloween party, trick or treat with the kids. Everyone can come by, get together. It's open, and you can reserve space and come up there and use it as you want. I would say it's not used nearly as much as I would have thought it was going to be used. So I'm interested to see next year. So once we've been home for several years and you start to are people going to get that itch? Do they want to start going in and collaborating? Like, that's been what we've been kicking down the road, I think, for the last several years, is we keep anticipating this drive to come back and not seeing it. And I know I got yelled at by the Uber driver. I didn't get yelled at, but the Uber driver in Kansas was upset with me because the Cerner parking lot is growing grass, and why were the Cerner employees not coming back to their office? And I was like, I don't know.
Maybe that's somebody from Cerner, not Trinisys.
I was like, I'm not from Cerner. I don't know what they're doing to drive people to come back. But then, of course, T-Mobile.
Just angry.
Well, and T-Mobile wasn't coming back, and their parking lot had grass. So, what was that saying about coming back to the office and the workforce and our culture going forward? If you can't, like, if giant companies can't drive people to come back to their office.
I think it's a fascinating trend. So my team specifically focuses on talking to remote first engineers for remote first job opportunities across the country. So but I also preface too on anything I speak on or speak at that I'm only one recruiter, right? My team is only one team. We only see a sliver of the pie, pumpkin pie. Because that's my favorite. So actually not really. It's more of like a chocolate pecan pie. If you've had those are my favorite.
Good.
That's not the point of this conversation. But anyways, all that being said, so we see what's going on. And also too, I have some good friends in the market that I actually ping often. I'm like, hey, what are you seeing? Because like with me and my role, I have to I try to have a 360 view of the country because I got to know where things are heading. And it's been a mixed bag. So I'm starting, one of my friends has hit me up this week and was like, it's weird. I'm starting to get hit up with a lot of hybrid opportunities. And so I think that's interesting. I'm starting to see companies go, well, like for example, I talked with a company out of Florida the other day and they're like, well, they can be remote, but if we had a preference, it would be Florida first, then East Coast, then the rest of the country. So I think what you're starting to see is I think companies are wanting to be more local, like regionalized, where they can get people in if they need to have all hands and you're not having to fly people all across the country. I do think the toothpaste is out of the tube. And if you have tried to put toothpaste back in the tube, it's next to near impossible and incredibly messy. And I think that's where we're at. I think, will it ever go 5 days on site again? Never. But I think and I think it puts even more emphasis on managers. And I know we're going to talk about retaining talent, which I've been fascinated with, which is why I created my own podcast, Guidance Counselor 2.0, little plug there. But basically trying to figure out how to lead remotely has been incredibly challenging and a learning lesson for me. And I think it's definitely based off team and team structure and what people want to do. Because there's some people at Vaco that like want to go back in the office, and that's great. I live 45 minutes, north of the office up in Hendersonville, and we had a daughter during this, and I'm able to be at home and run my business and be with my daughter, and I think, and that's incredibly important too. So I think it's actually listening to your employees now, I think, is how to retain talent. But I think I'm skipping ahead a few bullet points. So
This is great. I love this.
Yeah, it's opened up a world of opportunity to hire the best tech talent for the
100%.
job. So now when we're looking for new positions to fill, we open it up across the country. We interview across the country, and then we have two tracks, right? Ways to engage with our team from a complete remote standpoint, ways to engage with just the remote team, and ways to allow the people that are still in the team that's still in Nashville to come into the office if they want to. So like the party we're having tonight, we also had one on Wednesday with the remote team, and then every time we do that, we bring in different people from the leadership team that maybe they don't interact with, and they do things together so that they're not just, if they are on my team, they're not just seeing me, or if they're on other teams, they're getting to see, the CEO or our founders or whoever it might be, but everybody gets to interact with everybody in those smaller groups, which I'm hoping is resonating with the remote team. It's hard for me to know if everyone is loving every opportunity, because not every person is going to want the same interaction or the same environment. So,
well, yeah, and I think Beth, you make a great point. I think it's so individualized now. And I think as IT leaders look to scale their organization, I think you need to bring in more middle management, at least my opinion. Because I think everything is so individualized now that I think trying to run a team of 10 people remotely is going to be very difficult, and also to customize those individual needs. And so from my staffing mind would be like, instead of overloading your managers, hire more middle management, break them up, and then they can come up with what works for their team. But I still think what Beth said, like, my business is fully remote, but I'm here in Nashville doing a podcast. There's still importance for companies to be present, right? There's still importance for Trinisys to be out in Nashville, to be doing community, to build brand locally. That will never go away. It will never go away. So, my advice to IT leaders in any city you're in, you need to build brand and build community. I'm so passionate about community right now. It's absurd. I'm a little over the top when it comes to it, because you can build community. It just takes so much more intentionality, which goes back to not putting too much on the plate on middle management.
Well, I know you both are community people, And to brag on you for shifting from Beth to you, Taylor, you also an award winner, NTC's Tech Influencer of the Year. Am I getting that right?
That's right. Yep.
That was really cool. So I love how you're describing this 360 view, and that's part of your story. And both of you bringing so much value today. I really like this. When you think about the tech jobs that you're seeing that are available now that maybe weren't as popular or maybe weren't even around a couple years ago, what are you seeing, and what do you think that means for the future?
Web3. No, I'm just kidding. I just said that, so like the whole podcast will blow up on the internet. I think if you just take that clip, that soundbite right there, and just post it, people lose their damn minds. So basically, I think, well, what's crazy is being in Nashville, I've seen a shift in tech, and I actually made a post about this the other day. When I started in tech, it was like .NET Web Forms, it was like core Java, it was like legacy tech, right? And it was very much like, I need a .NET developer with these skills. It was just very, very like, it was very narrow. Now what I'm seeing is an emphasis on polyglot, a mile wide and an inch deep. It used to be a mile deep and an inch wide when it comes to recruiting talent. Now, what I'm seeing is hiring managers just wanting good engineers that can solve problems. It doesn't really matter about the technology, and you need that because the war on talent is just so difficult right now. I also think too, like open source is king. Python, and again, this is me on a national level. Nashville's still a heavy .NET town, but from a national perspective, Python, Ruby, open source. My team is recruiting on like 10 Ruby roles and like 10 React Native roles right now. It's crazy, and like I haven't recruited React Native in years, and like all of a sudden it's like back in vogue for some reason. So, so all that being said, yeah, definitely a push to open source. Definitely a push to polyglot engineers who can just solve good problems.
I was mostly interested to hear what Taylor is seeing because he sees more than I do. I mean, obviously we hire for very specific roles at Trinisys. I do see, and we do a lot in data, so I go to a lot of conferences and other events that talk about data, and data scientists are a new role that I find very interesting in the market, not only from our company's perspective, but also what we can do with data and how the community is coming together around that, and then we're bringing technology to bear.
There's definitely a push towards, at least what I've seen. I'm not recruiting a ton of it, but AI, ML, all those buzzwords. I still think people throw around those terms. They still don't know what it is, because it's just hot and you can get sexy talent in the door. But I definitely I keep hearing. I think TikTok really changed the game on so many levels, from a content marketing perspective, from a back end technology perspective. Everyone's now trying to chase TikTok's algorithm. Right? I mean, that is what they're known for. I'm starting to hear other companies like, well, we got to get to the algorithm that TikTok has, right? You see, is it DALL-E, the AI automated picture thing that's out, right? You can type in words and it creates like an AI generated picture. Like, again, I think AI is definitely moving that way. My buddy who runs my content, Brandon Arve at Brandon78, he sent that to me today, and he goes, I wrote these 3 paragraphs with AI, and I read it, and it was like good. And I was like, what did you plug in? He goes, I literally just plugged in the title. So like, we're heading that way. But again, I think it's still balancing, especially leading organizations, of you got to put the human touch in tech.
I'm loving it. I love the AI take too, because it is just, things are changing so fast right now.
Yep.
The technology, the talent, everything is changing so fast. Beth, I have a question for you that, as we're changing so fast, any thoughts you have? I mean, you're out, you're recruiting your talent, and you got to retain this talent. You've been growing this company with your team, and things are going really well, but we've experienced a lot of changes. What has worked well for you for keeping this team engaged?
So when we went home and went remote, we really had to focus on how do you engage with this team, and how do we make sure that we keep that culture. And the reason a lot of folks have stayed with Trinisys for more than a decade is the culture and the family and the feeling of that you're doing something that you're passionate about and you enjoy that work, but you also do it with people you enjoy and you have fun with. So when we went home for COVID and you lost all of that natural ability to get together and do things as a team, we really had to start focusing on how do we make it the same great place to work, but remote. And I think we realized that you can't make it the same. Like, you can't just keep doing.
Taylor's pointing. He's
Preach.
Yeah, he's giving you some.
Yeah.
I mean, we did the same thing everybody did. Like Friday afternoon, because we used to have a happy hour every Friday afternoon in our office. So we thought we'll have Friday afternoon on a video, right? It was horrible. Like, I felt like one of my colleagues and I were doing like a stand-up routine, trying to keep everyone engaged.
How about that drive-in?
Yeah, like, wow, 50 people are
How's the
staring
weather
back
today?
at you. Yeah.
Jesus, stop.
Pulling people out, but it really wasn't a good collaboration event. Like, people
we're
were
all just trying to figure it out.
Yeah, we were trying to figure it out. So we played some games, and that was more fun. But then we realized, like, we really needed to be more focused on, like, how are we engaging with people that can be in person? How are we focused on engaging with people who can't be because they live in, the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, or they live in Miami? We're not getting them together all the time. And we looked at different ways to engage. And we had the opportunity to have a new hire on our HR team. And we purposely found someone who was not only great at all the areas we needed from like a strategy perspective and where we wanted to go from an employee engagement perspective, but also who had experience working with remote companies before the pandemic.
Smart.
So we could take that advice, because we really don't have that experience and had always had, like, we had 1 or 2 employees who were remote. We were horrible at engaging with them. Like, we forgot to call them. We never had our cameras on. They never got the opportunity to speak as freely as the rest of the team. And we really wanted to make sure that as we built the team, we continued with our culture and our core values were present. I don't know how our team would rate us. I do know that we make an opportunity to speak to everyone when they're hired, and we try to give that same like walk around feeling. I realized I used to do that on the first day. They have nothing. They're like, hello, thank you, yes, no, it's been fine. It's been 5 minutes. So I try to do it a few weeks after they've started, so they have opportunity to give feedback on how did it go? Was it good? What could we do to improve? What things did you like about the onboarding process? What things would we do better?
Good.
I don't know if it's work. I mean, that's what we're trying to do. I would love to, the team to be honest and say, do this, don't do that. And I feel like we have a transparent organization where once they get to know us, they know you really can tell us how you feel. We really do want to know the truth.
Here's the deal, though. She said one word that I love: trying. And I think that's so key right now. So this topic we're on right now, if y'all are strapped in, we can go 9 hours, because like I am so passionate about this. Because same here, right? Vaco, we were fully on site for the 8 years I was there, right? Never had worked a day remote unless I was sick or I couldn't come into the office because of traffic when that tornado came through. And so COVID hit, and of course, we did exactly the same thing. We tried to replicate the in-office at home, and you just can't. I mean, you just can't. Like, I think that's one thing I'm super passionate about is, like, remote culture is not the same as in-person culture. What I've realized with my team, and I'll just say some things that we've done with my team. First off, onboarding, incredibly important now. It is the first taste that somebody's going to get with your company. I actually got dinged, in just full transparency. We had a gentleman leave my team, and I always take it personally because that's just who I am. I take everything personally. I'm in counseling for it. That's a whole nother conversation. So, but basically, took it super personal that this guy left, and this guy, I asked, I was like, hey, I did an exit interview. I think exit interviews are incredibly important right now because you can truly, and like actually listen, managers, like don't do an exit interview and like have your own agenda. Right? Like actually listen to the words coming out of the...
We do those.
I love it. Again, you said that key word is trying. And so I know you're doing it the right way. And so, but the one thing we got dinged on was onboarding. This guy that left goes, you know what? It was just a little wonky. I really didn't know what I was doing. I was like, well, I don't know if we can curse, but I was like, well, damn. I was like, we need to fix this. And so, me and I'm very thankful for Morgan Martin and Sloan Bartley. They kind of like, we all kind of like grouped together and like created an onboarding document. I mean, we're super grassroots. I'm super thankful. We're kind of like a startup within Vaco. So like Vaco's our VC, and like we're this startup trying to make it work. And so, I think I think what we've done is people just want to know they're a part of something. So I do one-on-ones with everybody on my team every week. I went away from that. I tried to go every other, and the team got back to me. Some people told me and said they don't feel as integrated. So I went back to every week. We have a Monday morning meeting where we don't talk about work. We just literally hang out. I said, hey, how are y'all weekend? You know, our guy in Denver got snow this weekend. And I was like, build a snowman for me, right? We literally just got on the call, 15 minutes, nothing crazy. We do talk a little work at the end, but, you know, allowing people to just hang out. And I think to wrap up my long-winded answer, I think what I've realized is people want to be paid fairly, people want to feel heard, and people want to have balance outside of work. And I think if you can provide those things, I don't think companies have to try as hard as they think they do. I think it's the listening, it's training your managers to listen, it's being really open to feedback, being able to pivot quickly, and then don't bother your people after 5 o'clock on a Friday. Like, I think there's some pretty simple boundaries to put in place that can really take your organization to the next level remotely.
It's good. Both of you, again, just bringing it. I loved how that theme of trying is just, hey, giving it an honest approach, really trying to recruit great talent, but take good care of them. I love this.
It's so
both
important.
of you. So any other thoughts on this theme of trying, of finding creative ways, new approaches to sourcing great tech talent? Maybe it's in Nashville or beyond. Any other thoughts we've not hit on yet?
I'm really proud of Nashville as a community because even before the pandemic, we knew we had a problem with talent and having enough talent to meet the need that we had. And I think we've come together nicely as a community to say, where are the different levels that we can engage to do that? So, because I think NSS is great from building junior talent and getting that out there in the market, but you can't get junior talent on your team if you don't have senior resources to coach and mentor them and help them be successful. So how do we get enough senior talent if we can't produce that organically in Nashville? We have to go outside of Nashville. We have to recruit people to Nashville to fill that need. And of course, partnering with our universities to get that other level of talent. So I feel like we've done a really great job of saying these are all the different levels of talent we need in our community. And these are the different strategies that we're going to employ to bring that together and then work together as a community to make that happen. So we are supporting every level of talent because senior talent, a lot of senior talent wants junior talent to mentor. And if there's no junior talent, then they're just kind of at this level and where do you go? What do? And you just keep not having the opportunities probably you want to grow in your career. So I appreciate the fact that Nashville does that together and that we all kind of have that same eye on let's recruit really great companies to Nashville so that they bring opportunity for talent to come to Nashville, and let's welcome them into our community and not, we could have a different approach. Like, we don't want anyone to join us. They'll take our talent. That would be really detrimental, I think, from adding not only from our economic standpoint, but also from a building the community and talent pool.
Yeah, I totally agree. And for me on the recruiting side, I always challenge my team to think differently. I think there's so much groupthink when it comes to just staffing in general, which is why a lot of people hate us. And so, for me, we're taught day one in the recruiting industry to do Dice, Indeed, Career Builder, Monster, LinkedIn Recruiter. And I just became so disenfranchised with all of that. I always ask why, or is there something else we can do? And so now, I think there's a huge emphasis on Discord and Slack communities across the country. A lot of my recruiting team is involved in Slack channels in Chicago and Boston and San Francisco, and involved in Node.js channels that are just completely remote, and you just have a bunch of 100,000 Node developers in a Slack channel, right? And for me, we've created our own Discord channel, my team, because again, my team's responsibility and what I'm so passionate about is building community across engineers across the country. So we have a Slack channel or Discord where it's literally all we do is post our jobs, right? Because what's the one thing you always hear from software developers is that they are constantly tired. They don't know where to go to look for jobs. Right, half the job postings are fake. Half the jobs recruiters send them are fake. So what I've realized is that is job seekers and candidates need kind of this northern light, and that's what I want to be. But we look at all different things. Polywork is a great profile. I actually interviewed Peter Johnson on my podcast about what it is, and they're really, really pushing community driven. You can join these groups on Polywork, and there's you can post, and I actually would post. From a Trinisys perspective, you can post jobs on Polywork and have open to collaborate, and so they're really good at building community. We're looking at recruiting off GitHub. because that's where all the engineers are, because you can search profiles and see what they do on GitHub. We're looking at Stack Overflow. We're looking at Slack, like I said, Slack and Discord. So yeah, we're and social media. I mean, like literally, I have found. I mean, my entire career, the last 2 years, has been built on the back of Twitter and LinkedIn. So I've not made one outbound sales call, and I've been able to find CTOs, CIOs, VPs of engineering on LinkedIn. I had a VP of engineering slide in my DMs this week. He's from Nashville, but he was like, "Hey, I want to hang. You know, I see your content, and I want to talk to you about what it looks like from a global perspective." And so again, I think companies need. I'm such a brand content freak at this point because as an introvert myself, going to meetups terrify me. Going to conferences, it's really hard. I love speaking, but don't put me in a room with a bunch of developers because I'll cower in the corner like all the rest of them. And so what I've learned through content is you can scale your brand, you can scale your voice to the public, which is what I've done. And I would encourage brands to do the same thing.
I like the tips, of course. Thank you for those notes there, Taylor. And Beth, something you were saying that I think stood out is this creative approach that Nashville has, more of a collaboration. And you mentioned NSS. And a lot of that comes from people like both of you all going and speaking to the students and finding, junior talent. They want to be mentored. A lot of senior talent, they want to have folks to be mentoring. So I loved that shout out to NSS. When you think about, what are you excited about having something like NSS right here in our backyard, trying to home grow talent? Do you have any other thoughts, either of you all, about what that impact has had, you think, in the community, and what kind of, NSS just graduated the 2000th student, but Beth, what you were saying is like there's this community aspect of like us all working together to support that. So any thoughts as we're starting to wrap up our conversation today, which I've so loved, any thoughts either of you have around that?
I think if I continue with the community thought feel on NSS, I think there's several companies that take NSS graduates and then help really mentor them into this is what your role will look like in a company. So companies like mine that's maybe smaller and not able to support a lot of really junior talent, we're able to partner with these other companies who are taking them to the next step and refining their skills and getting them, to where they need to be so they can join a team like mine. And then I think they're able to grow within that based on some of the skills they learned at NSS, but then at these other companies where they're taking it to the next level with this approach where they have mentors and guides throughout their first assignments to help make sure they're on the right track, doing what they need to be doing, because they do learn different skills than you do from a traditional engineering program at a 4-year college or university. So I really like that they're able to take that to the next level and then provide that talent to companies like my size. But also I think we have so many large companies in town that are able to take talent straight from NSS and really integrate them into their teams and help them grow within their career. And if they want to stay there, which a lot of the companies in town, people stay for a long time and really grow their career there, they have that opportunity. We have one of my, I love all of our employees, but we have an NSS grad that joined our team and has really, throughout the years continued to improve their skills and grow within our team and is a senior engineer now and really great and came from a completely different background, which I know most of the students there have had a previous career in something completely different, and just really fun to see how they've embraced that and grow.
Yeah, I mean, I think what NSS is doing. So I say this when I speak there. I said, aside from the curriculum, aside from the teachers, aside from anything else, I think the one thing NSS has done is create community. And again, I'm going back to the community, right? Because and one of my tactics that I tell students at National Software School to do is listen, I would network with every single engineer who has a job. I mean, obviously you can network with folks in your cohort, but really try to get out there, try to meet people at the Eventbrites, at the HCAs that hire junior devs, so you can learn how they went about that and what those people look for, because what NSS has done is create an incredible brand name for themselves. Everyone knows who they are. They consistently put out great talent. And then, I think right now, I think it's even more important for NSS to keep doing what they're doing because of the globalization of talent. It's just, it's hard to retain and find top engineering talent. And so you have to open up your pipeline. And if we're talking about building diversity and inclusion within organizations, which obviously I'm very passionate about, you need to look at some non-traditional ways, right? Are you partnering? I'm all about keeping your candidate pipeline full through the entire interview process and even before your interview process. So are you in universities? Are you in trade schools? Are you at code schools? I really try to, like, we have, on one of my podcasts where we have a Jackson, Mississippi code school come on. I think code schools are incredibly important for the community that they're in, to supply top engineering talent, young engineering talent that can be grown and matured within organizations.
Hey, this has been a great time. I've really enjoyed it. I feel like you both have brought so much love for this work that you have dedicated your careers to. So with that said, are any final thoughts, or you feel like this is a good moment to start landing? You feel good?
I mean, I would say my final thoughts. Yeah, final thought is, for hiring managers in companies to realize that hiring isn't as hard as you make it out to be. It's really not. That you still have to move fast right now, because top engineering talent still goes out the door. Literally, my team and I closed a staff engineering role yesterday, and this guy had 2 other offers that we held off for. So hiring's still moving. It's still going quick, especially for the good engineers, so you got to move quick. And then for job seekers, I think go out and be fearless, right? Send the DM to a hiring manager at a company you've always wanted to work for. Ask for a call, ask for an interview, ask for the raise. Just go out there and be fearless, because the job seekers that are fearless, and the individuals who are fearless in their career and not afraid to ask are the ones that succeed the most.
Those are great final thoughts, Taylor.
Those are great thoughts. Yeah, thanks, Taylor. Beth, what do you think? What's on your mind and heart?
I think I'm very proud of Nashville as a community and the way we come together as a community to really solve the we're not going to solve it. I mean, we're going to continue to need tech workers at a pace that, as technology evolves, that's going to be challenging. But I'm proud that Nashville's working together as a community to try to ensure that we're cultivating talent locally and that we're supporting that talent nationally.
That's great. Good. All right, my friends. Well, thank you so much again for coming and hanging out all together in person. A lot of great themes here. Looking forward to our next hangout session. We're going to have to do this again soon.
I love it. Let's do it.
It's fascinating to see how just a few years can make such a big difference in the hiring landscape of Nashville's tech scene. From jobs shifting in popularity to new roles appearing that maybe weren't there 5 years ago, it's all just a reminder that Nashville is a great place to grow a tech team. If you're looking to grow and develop your own tech team or talent pipeline and would like to connect with Nashville Software School, visit their website at www.nashvillesoftwareschool.com. And thanks again for listening. I'm Clark Buckner, and this is 10 Years, 2,000 Journeys, presented by Nashville Software School.